I'm always still chasing that dream. You know, it's like when I see an idea, and it's not like, oh, let's overdub drums and normalize every hit, or you know, when something comes up and it feels right, no matter how much money I'm going to lose or how hard it is, I still am chasing that art, that dream of trying to do things different, cutting edge, that are going to work, and pushing the envelope, you know?
We love what you do, but we're also fans. So,
Thanks, man. I'm sure we'll get into this in the podcast, but it's like, it's been tough getting dudes in. It's like, I thought COVID was going to be this big, you know, catalyst to like, the world's live streaming now, and I have a jump on everybody. It's like I had this whole thing set up. It's like great, but still, people just. It depends. Certain bands are just like, I'm on hiatus. They're like, they don't want to do anything. They don't want to do podcasts. They don't want to do, and some other bands are just chomping at the bit.
You're in Jersey now, or are you?
I am born and raised in Bergen County, New Jersey, and then we moved to Austin. We had this big idea of like to move. It was like this huge 6-year plan. And it was like, where can we go that's like good for music and warmer and more affordable, a better quality of life? So this Austin, Texas was all the rage. And where we landed in Austin, Texas, where like we could get affordable land, was a bit on the outskirts.
Like Round Rock or something like that?
Well, a Round Rock would be an equivalent, but we went west. We were told we wouldn't like Round Rock. So we went west to this place, Dripping Springs, which is actually very beautiful. It's the hill country. It's very sought after, but where we were is quite rural. You know, it's like on 8 acres, and it's like farmland. You know what I mean? So there's some cool people up there. You know, a lot of people moving from California. You know, Jesse James, the motorcycle guy. He's my neighbor.
Oh my God. So you're like, I've seen video of that shop. Like you're out there.
So there's a mixture of like, you know, straight up Texas farm dudes and other people just doing cool things with the land. Like myself, there's some cool breweries, wineries, there's cool car makers, and there's just all kinds of stuff mixed with like horse farms and cattle, and you know.
Fantastic melting pot right there.
Yeah. So it was tripping out my wife. It was a lot more Texas than we signed up for versus Austin, Texas, which is Austin, Texas is not really Texas. It's really like a cool liberal hippie city.
Right.
Keep it weird.
Capital.
So anyway, before, houses in the closer suburbs were, you know, it was very easy for us to just get this land where we could build the barn studio, you know, my dream studio, and live on the land. You know, there was a house, which they call like a double wide, which is like a, you know, like a prefab manufactured house in a factory, which they deliver in 2 huge halves.
That's awesome.
And it's not, you know, look, it's not, they're quite comfortable to live in. They're nice homes, but it's not like a fancy it's not like, from a snobby house perspective, my wife's into all this old architecture. You know, there's nothing she could really do with it. She hated it.
She likes the craftsman type houses like you would find in like Pasadena, California, or
totally. She's living on those. She's living on those TV shows, those HGTVs and DIY.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, to make a long story short, it was not for her. Like, it turned out being too Texas where we were, too much, you know, church and football and guns, all these things we weren't. My life hadn't changed much because I brought my life with me. Like, bands come to me to record, and I'm in my beautiful new barn studio, which is great. So it was tough for her. And by the time we could like afford buying an additional home in like an Austin suburb, prices were going up, and her and the kids were just jonesing. They really wanted to get back to New Jersey. I fought it for a while, and where we are now is right next to Asbury Park. And I'm much happier with the part of New Jersey we're in. being by the beach is gorgeous.
Right.
So, and it's a hustle. Like, you're a finance guy, Mike. So it's not smart. I'm working hard to keep up with the Joneses here and
man.
make every mortgage payment. But we sold 4 of the 8 acres to do it.
Right.
I still have the 4 acres that has the barn. The 4 acres that had the house on it I divided that and sold that.
Okay.
So that helped, and we made a profit there.
That's great. Thank God.
That's
So
good.
yeah, but it's tough, man. It's hard.
We know.
Part. What about like that? Like, did you have to migrate all that all the equipment back, or did you?
No, I left it all there.
Okay, so you have your own.
I'm talking to you in like a mixing garage, which sounds good. If I took down the curtain behind me, it'd be like a construction site. But I mean, around me, it's like just great panels and great gear. So I do more mixing than producing bands. So when there's a band to produce, it's like I go on tour. I go out there to the barn, knock it out, and I'm back here mixing and mastering, and which I do more than half the time.
Interesting setup.
So, and because I could never sell the barn studio and do anything like that here, not even close.
Yeah.
And it's my dream place, and my wife's like, keep it. And I have guys working there. I have engineers that one lives on the land and runs it. They do sessions there occasionally, love their own stuff, and it makes a little money on the side. It doesn't lose money. It's so affordable. I mean, I pay $1,000 a year in taxes.
Wow.
For 4 acres.
Yeah. It's worth it.
I can see why Joe Rogan's moving there.
Yes. Yeah. And he'll be in Austin, proper,
probably.
I'm sure, which is much more expensive than where I am. But
It's cool you get both, though. You know what I mean? You appease the wife, happy life, right?
yeah.
Got to have the happy. And how long you been married?
I am 52, so that would be 22 years.
Oh,
22 blissful years.
Tough, man. It's hard. 3 kids, bro. It's a hustle.
yeah. With 3 kids in New Jersey, I can see why you're saying it's a hustle. Definitely.
It is. And it's, I want to look like a rock star on your podcast, but let's face it. I mean, it's like, I'm the luckiest guy. I'm the luckiest guy in the world. I've got a great job. But the other things I want to invest in, like Machine Shop Live or doing more songwriting stuff, it's hard for me to stop mixing, stop producing bands. It's like the best day job ever. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But it's hard for me to take on. I mean, I listen to all this entrepreneurial stuff, which we're all into, and like new ideas. It's hard for me to not do anything but just hustle through the next project, to just make the
Is that because is that because you've known and that's just kind of your vibe? Or
oh yeah, it's all I've known. And there's not money in the bank to sort of like save up to try something new. Machine Shop Live is working because I have like all these other people that benefit from it. There's all these other staff that everyone's contributing, and it's little bits of my time. And I think it's so important.
I think so too.
On so many levels that it's just worth the investment. Like, it's a similar energy to you guys doing a podcast, really. It's just my glorified version of a podcast, but it's the same.
Yeah,
same good karma, good things come back to you, meeting more people, connecting with more, all the benefits that we all know from something like a podcast you get from the.
What I really liked about Machine Shop Live when I first saw it, I think it was Fire from the Gods episode.
Yeah.
You sent me that first time back in March when we first got connected.
Yeah.
And
with a contortionist, maybe.
Contortionist. Thank you.
Yeah.
Contortionist. And I was just like, man, this is shot so well. The vibe of the studio is great. This is like being at Daryl's house, but heavy metal Daryl's house.
There you go.
You know what I mean?
There you go.
And it's like
that's what we feel. We feel, and Kurt, tell me if you think otherwise. I just want your opinion. The idea was like to keep it metal and sort of progressive metal initially, because it needs fans to exist. So in other words, there's a Patreon for it, right? It's just Patreon /Machine Shop Live. and it's just all started. It's all very new, but the idea is that it should be sort of, fan run and fan supported. So with like proggy metal bands and metal bands, there's a lot of content, like specific Patreon fan content I can make with those bands. I could do gear review stuff. I could do playthrough video stuff. That genre is so devoted and so passionate. They really do want to see also behind the scenes stuff that I can do just during live streams, just for the patrons. Yep. And it was very easy, I thought, to build that initially, a fan base with patrons for that genre of music, than just having an open season. I'd love it to grow one day to where I take on much more different types of bands. But it was easy for me to start with that. It's very true to me and what I've accomplished as a producer. The bands know me, like the heavier bands know me.
You've done some of my favorite records, by the way.
It seemed to be a good start to go in that area.
You're so to us, like, and to me, being in bands and stuff, like you are. I'm not going to kiss your ass here, but like you're a legend. So like, I mean,
not really. Thanks.
Mike told me about having you on the show. I was like, really? Oh my God, like this is fucking crazy.
Well, first off, let's start with this. Like when I was a younger engineer, and I started in '93 as like an assistant, and then kind of worked my way up in New York and stuff like that.
Yeah,
no one knew about Machine and all that. And when it really took me was when I heard Head Peas broke.
Nice.
That
to
fucking
call
record,
out there.
That record still to this day, I'm getting tears talking about, man. Fucking that record to this day, I would roll around with it to like studios, and I would put it in the speakers.
Really, dude?
Here, yeah, I'm not kidding you. Like that record to me, because I watched that video at the end of that CD that came with it, with Jared recording his vocals with that 57. It had like this cone that you would put around it.
It was a 421. It was a 421, and I built. It was a stocking, and it was like maybe the rim of like a soup to go cup.
Yes, exactly.
But the idea is that he was so comfortable hand holding,
right?
And I didn't want to take that away from him. So I thought, what would make a good handheld mic? It could have been a SM7 at the time. I didn't have that. I was still working with on my own studio. Still a lot of just whatever consumer gear I had.
Right.
But no, 421s make, not that the podcast is super gear nerdy, but they actually make fantastic vocal mics as well, 421s. Yeah. So, and I knew I could get all that attitude in his vocal and still get everything I wanted.
That's
better than.
That's why the 421 has a little switch from music to vocal on the bottom of the mic.
Right.
So they work.
It's M&S.
M&S. That's right.
M&S. So it's actually just a low end roll off. But
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To give a singer that type of carte blanche to be able to have that live, environment, that makes everything a lot more, digestible for an artist to be like, okay, this is like what I do. And then you're doing it like it's natural.
Sure. And like another example, Lamb of God, we had, an endless budget, but it was all a handheld SM58 because Randy's sound was largely his technique of physically cupping the diaphragm of the mic. The ball, the end of the 58.
Yeah,
like he had moves that he would do with that on certain line, of cupping that were part of his vocal sound.
Can we talk about that? Because did you literally? I watched the video of you producing him. Like he's right by you, right? Like
always. People are always vocals.
Tone scream. Like he started tone screaming after that record, and that was what really made me like Lamb of God so much more. It captivated me in a way that it didn't before that, and I was like, wow. I started that with him with Redneck. It was still the second record. Mm-hmm. Right? Ashes of the Wake was the first record I produced, right? Sacrament was the second. So it wasn't until then, when I first met Randy, he said, first of all, let me take this further back. When I very first met Randy, when I just met Lamb of God to talk about the idea of producing, Randy would say he never had, at that point, they just signed to Epic, the major label. Mm-hmm. And Randy had never written a repeated lyric
He said he swore he would never sing. Well, that was obvious, right? Well, I was okay. That makes sense, being Randy. But he had never repeated a lyric either. He didn't understand the logic in that or why that was good. So you have to be very careful. They had just got signed to the majors. They were afraid that here comes this producer guy is going to make us a sellout. They could have gone with any metal producer, but they were going with me. You know, I'd done some cool heavy stuff like King Crimson at the time or Clutch, but nothing typical metal, nothing modern metal, right? I hadn't done anything. And I was like, they liked me because of that, but also scared of me because of that. So you couldn't say stuff like chorus. That was a bad word. So, and then he was, I was reading his lyrics, and one line in a verse was, "Now you've got something to die for."
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, Randy, see that line? It's like, bro, if you repeat that line like more than once, you're going to have your "fuck you, I won't do what you told me" moment. I'm like, "Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. Fuck you, I won't do." It's like, he's like, yeah. I'm like, you see that? That you have a line like that. Now you've got something to die for. Now you repeat that, Randy, you're going to have masses of kids following you and just going crazy.
And that's what happened.
It was a big argument.
One of the biggest songs.
And it was the rest of history. And after that, it was a whole different experience working with Lamb of God. They were like, you forced us to do certain things, we weren't quite ready for, this and that, or maybe afraid of, and we're not sellouts after Ashes of the Wake. We're getting much bigger shows now. It's like, and it was very different going back for the second record, where that's when we started like Redneck, where it was like a tone scream. That was.
And I've watched the Lamb
there.
of God home video where they're working with you in it.
Yep.
And
yeah.
And there was the comment made in there, like, even I think Chris Adler said it. He was like, we really weren't ready when we did Ashes of the Wake of, working with a producer, and you were kind of reticent to actually do Sacrament, right? You were kind of like, if we're going to do this,
No, I didn't want to do it, actually. Yeah. That's, people are like, what? Like, no, I didn't, because it was so difficult getting, I got, the band would sit here and say on the first record I did that I got a lot of ideas in. They would say that. I didn't feel that per se so much.
Okay.
And it was just a big struggle all the time, Sure. Lots of big personalities, OCD running rampant everywhere, metal guys.
Okay.
Just, it's just crazy. I just thought it was hard. It was hard to be a record producer with that band, but they assured me that it would be very different this time around, and they're like much more chill now, and it's just very true. It was a different experience.
They were trying to convince you to get on set.
Yeah, I did. I turned it down actually initially.
Isn't it the way
Sacrament?
You recorded Chris Adler's drums at the time? Didn't you like mute other things, like cancel out everything, and then like record each individual cymbal or like drum?
No, not like that. We just did cymbals as overdubs. So in other words, we did all drum shells as a pass,
right,
and then all cymbals as a pass.
Okay.
And you could imagine from a drummer, if you've ever tried to mix drums, the challenges you have with cymbal bleed on everything, and what that gives you on a mixing. That came from Chris sort of saying our initial debate and argument, where Chris was very into, one of the problems I had with what modern metal was sounding like at the time, to me, was just fully sound replaced drums.
Right.
It sounded like drum machine with live cymbals. Is what a lot of modern metal sounded like to me at the time. And Chris felt that, again, metal should have no dynamics in drums. They should all be the same power, right? And that's how a lot of these metal bands were doing it. They were fully sound replacing at the time with no dynamics and live cymbals. So to combat that, I wanted more natural sounding drums, and he wanted that. So we did. This is crazy what we did. We did drums as overdubs, and then I individually took each one of those hits. I didn't. I had help also with interns and assistants. each individual drum hit and normalized each it was like super fast and it was like brrr. They were all individually sliced and normalized, but they were all individual unique hits and with no bleed. So it was an amazing thing to be able to mix, because you can imagine what we had. We had all these different voicing drums because they were unique hits.
Mm-hmm.
They were all even power, and then there was no bleed on them. There was no bleed, so I could compress, distort, I could do anything with them. And that was like at the time, people in metal were like, this is different. How did they do that? It was a really aha type of moment, I think, in the metal scene. At least I've been told.
And I read about doing that, and that's what I meant to say. So I was wrong about what I was saying, but you said you individualized everything. So it's like,
yeah,
that's good. Do you stick to that now, or do you, or was that for that record?
Oh no, that was just for that.
Okay.
I have done other records where I've done drum shells separately from cymbals. I think Suicide Silence, we did it that way, and One Armor for Sleep record. It's just like, I know Atreyu does it. I was told. It's just sometimes it makes for a really cool record.
Mm-hmm.
I did it on 18 Visions as well because we really wanted to sound like Def Leppard, like bigger than life.
And that's a very Mutt-Lang thing to do.
Exactly. But the truth is that it doesn't work for all drummers. Not all drummers can,
hack it,
depart that in their brains.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Chris Adler could. He could do anything. The God's amazing.
Great.
So, and it's not necessary stylistically, and it is a lot of extra work.
I'm sure that's what I was thinking about.
But I've never individually normalized everything outside of Lamb of God. Hell no.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going in like, I mean, I used to chop for a living and cut up stuff. Actually, with someone you worked with, I used to rent him Pro Tools all the time, was Josh Wilbur.
Oh yeah. Well, Josh met Lamb of God from me because Josh was our guitar engineer.
I know that.
On Sacrament.
Yeah, we know where he comes from.
Yeah, we know where he comes from. But it's like you chop that stuff up, and it's like, I almost feel like sometimes, I don't know if you do, it's like when you work with a band like Lamb of God and then go to a band like Clutch that's such like a rock fluenced band,
totally different,
where it's like total vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much they still record on 2-inch for the most part.
Yeah, it's like the band are playing live together. Yeah. It sounds very organic, and it's about picking the right takes, and absolutely totally different approach. And I do enjoy changing up the way I record. I mean, so I've been doing it long enough that it's like, I think probably more younger guys, they have methods more so that they've figured out, and everything's more new to them, so they're being comfortable with what they know. And I think maybe it's just time, and you get a feel for things more so. Maybe like a chef, like sort of just knows what spices are going to work, or how cooking something slow versus long. You just kind of know, like, even when I have a new idea, I don't mess up as much anymore because I kind of know conceptually what's already going to work and what's not going to work, and I do like different approaches for different bands. I think that's what all bands deserve.
Yeah.
That's great. So, recently, just so everybody knows, you were live streaming with Fire. You're actually working on Fire from the Gods' new album.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No, I was just the next Machine Shop Live will be Fire from the Gods. They came in before I left for England to do a Press Tamika record. So they came in 6 weeks ago. Normally I would have turned it around a lot faster, but and it's weird. So I was just mentioning them as that will be the next thing to come out. Maybe by the time this podcast airs, that'll have just dropped, or shortly thereafter. I don't know when you're coming out with this, but but that's exciting to get those guys in there. They were friggin' awesome.
They're amazing.
This will actually premiere either right around Halloween or the first week of November.
Okay.
This will come out.
All right.
If you tell us when the Fire from the Gods are airing, we might be able to
that'd be super smart. That'd be super smart, guys. I will do that. And I will know shortly, because I'm going to hear back from their management, like, when they want to, because their management's great. They're very good with their socials, and they're going to do a good job helping us promote it as well.
Oh, great. Yeah, definitely. We can totally do that for you.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Oh my God. It's like, yeah, I probably heard of them about a year and a half ago. And then they're fresh, dude. They're a fresh band. Like they were just,
I love it because there's like the hip hop side, the metal / hip hop side. You mentioned Head PE. There's that, one of the breakout, when I was younger, one of the breakout producing things I did was in rap rock, before like the whole window shut on rap rock one day.
Well, you worked with like Shitty's Groove and a bunch of
Sure. Yeah. That's right. Good call there, dude.
Yeah. I know my Machine history.
That was very, very true to me. Because I kind of grew up. The first stuff I did, toyed around, first music I made on my own was hip hop stuff. I was born with a sequencer and a sampler. That was like my first ever.
Did you have like an SP1200 in the bedroom and just?
I didn't. I actually had I had Notator on an Atari computer.
Okay.
But all the dudes I was working with, there was tons of SB12s, SB12. Yeah. Before the 1200 was SB12. Yeah. There was tons of that going on everywhere. And that was my scene. I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey. I went to, do you remember DOS Effects? DOS Effects went to my high school in my graduating class.
Straight from the sewers, man. DOS Effects. Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. So like that was, it was
you're
very
kidding
cool.
Me, right? Like DOS Effects went to Teaneck High?
Yeah.
Really? I didn't even know that.
And there's another, D Moet was from another, this is way back in the day.
I remember
Kingston and D Moet. He was a DJ, and we hooked up, and we did tons of stuff.
Oh, wow.
And there's this other kid from Patterson, New Jersey, Levi, this great R&B, hip-hop, R&B rap producer, Levi, I hooked up with. He was a couple years older than me. He wound up singing in Blackstreets with Teddy Riley.
Oh, wow.
And so I was really connected
that Levi.
That Levi.
That Levi. Okay.
I was really connected with those guys and I was a kid and I would follow them around, do anything to work with them. Mm-hmm. I had my older friend Clinton who had like the 8-track studio.
Right.
And that was really the first things I really did professionally in music was hip hop R&B stuff with like Levi and D Moet and those guys.
My first was working at Real Platinum.
But I played guitar.
Ah.
Let me ask you,
like you guys, I studied my Eddie Van Halen riffs.
Oh yeah.
Which is what we did, Oh, yeah. So
100%.
So hence the sort of like, and once in a while I play like guitar on these hip hop tracks and stuff. So doing rap rock music was just right up my alley. It was a cutting edge skill. It wasn't, you didn't have like loops you could just drop into your sequencer like you do now on your laptop. It was a skill. You had to run sync on tape and time up stuff. And it was like a hobby / skill that I had from my own interests in music.
Yeah. I remember.
And that got me started on a major label level. Like the first stuff I did, like Head PE and Pitch Shifter and all this stuff was stuff that like not most major label record producers could do at the time.
Yeah.
True.
I mean,
I remember working at Real Platinum. That was my first assisting gig in Lodi. And it was great because it wasn't a big drum room, but they were doing like SWV and Sam Hain had done November Coming Fire there. So it was a real big attraction for me being a rock kid. But as far as the sampler and sequencer skills, it was, you learned the MPC and I had like an Akai S1000 mono.
Yep.
And all these great toys to kind of work with.
Yeah. Was the 950? The S1000 was stereo.
No, sorry. 950. The 950. Yeah.
And it's
I used to do like background vocal fly-ins on it. So you do one side first and do the other side second.
Yeah. That's nuts.
Yeah.
We made a whole pitch shifter record with S1000s.
Really?
Literally just recording guitar into the sampler and looping guitars and stuff.
Wow.
That was the first virtual record I ever did. So in other words, we were lying to Geffen Records. They thought it had to be on 2-inch tape. That was just where the record industry was at the time, And when we were lying, it was all done virtually with the sequencer, and there was several S1000s. We had to make 3 of them, and all these synths, and we were literally just no tape. We were just going virtual, off a thing and lying to the label, telling we weren't doing it that way.
And it worked out, didn't it?
Oh yeah, because it's a lot easier if you're just looping everything and programming everything.
Let me ask you this: what for you was the pivotal record for you that, like, I guess took your career to the next level? Like, where you're like, all right. So you may have had a day job in your life, and then you went to.
I did.
I could just do this now, because that's really interesting to hear.
I was always doing production. In my own band. I was doing my own music, which was kind of rap rock about 6 years before Limp Bizkit, let's say. Like before there was commercially rap rock. I was doing it myself for my own music.
What year are we talking here?
Probably 92, 93?
Yeah, about 92. There, right? And I moved to England and I toured. I toured with my band and stuff and had a white label out. It's called Machine. Yeah. And thank God there's no YouTube back then, because my embarrassing videos don't exist.
That'd be awesome. I mean, come on.
Although there are videos, there are VHS videos that you'll never see.
You're like Prince's, what does he have? Like a safe? He had like freaking like 10 years material in there.
Yeah.
I got some Prince stories off camera that I could tell, but anyway.
So to answer your question, I was doing my own stuff, kind of pitching. You could kind of pitch your stuff to record companies back then. Like it's hard now. You kind of have to establish yourself now, and they follow, right? But it was back in the day where you could like pitch yourself, like, "Hey, sign me on my demo," right? So I would make demos and try to go to A&R people, and they were like, "Wow, this is really cool. We don't really know what to do with this." And like, it was a bit ahead of its time, basically, because rap rock came out half a decade later. Right. So they were like, this is really cool. Would you consider doing this to our artists? Would you, in essence, do a remix and put these beats and things that you do? So I was like, sure. And one of those was White Zombie, which
ended up on Sexy Swing Sound. That
two of them. Yeah. Two of them did. And, that was like platinum, that remix record. Yeah. So, and that was like very cutting edge, because I'd taken all my drum and bass programming influence that I got from living in England when jungle music or drum and bass music started. And it was perfect to put that onto like Devilman track. It was like the perfect tempo. It was like punk rock tempo with drum and bass rhythms. And it just made a lot of sense. It was no one had heard that in America yet, but it made a lot of sense. And thank God they put it out on that record. Because then later, bands like Pitch Shifter came around, an English band, and that's what they were. They were a band that was like drum and bass rhythms to punk rock guitars. They're like, they didn't know who to choose as a record producer, but they're like, hey, who did this Zombie remix? Because maybe that guy would be good. And they found me.
And then that takes you to the next.
And all of a sudden I'm being asked to produce major label records, from being a kid in a band, bartending at the time, doing occasional hip hop sessions, occasional remixes, which were legit remixes. Yeah. Still having fun bartending, doing my own music. And then one day I was like, hey, do you want a lot of money and fly out to England for like a month and a half or 2 months and make a full record? I'm like, sure.
Why not?
I was like, I kind of knew, like, I kind of thought, isn't like the record producer like the old guy in the studio? Like, there's a lot of younger producers now with laptops, but back then it was like, I thought that was like the older guy. There was no producers that were young. Right. And I thought, of course I knew what a record producer was, obviously, but I just thought it was something I would do when I was older, And then so it was like, at the time, people now say, are you nuts? But at the time I was like, should I just stop working on my own music and do this and that? And so it was a bit of a decision at the time, to be honest, as crazy as that sounds, because I look back at it now and go, why wouldn't I have just immediately said yes? But I did, and the word was out, and I had a producer manager when we were very young, and then it just like there was another record waiting for me by the time the first one was done, and so on and so on and so on. It never stopped, and I really fit a niche, and that was the other thing, which is different from now. It's like I really had this niche of being really good at syncing beats and synths to tape.
Right.
You know, taking Beck-like or White Zombie-like, or, you know, people that wanted rock music, guitar music with loops and stuff. Yeah. I was like, you know,
the innovator,
a Skrillexy innovator for the time. Yeah. You know,
it's amazing to me. It's like, you know, I use Logic at home for my own writing stuff, my own mixing stuff, and it, you know, how easy it is to use FlexTime. I remember,
oh my God, I know,
cutting tape, you know, laying it in with, and Greg can tell you, like when I started producing his band when he was 16, I was in my 20s.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like it's like I'm
That's
like,
cool.
Here's a metronome, bro. Time to get to it. And I like locked him in a room for hours.
Yeah.
Hours.
Got me good.
You got it. But now he's a great drummer, so it's like, it all works out.
Yeah.
But like, I think like
it's tough.
I'm sure you feel this way, and I feel this way too. The amount of protocol that goes into making a record now is just, it's kind of like a lost art in a lot of ways, that it's just so easy with a push button to kind of do things. It's
easy, but I hope that, you know, I'm always chasing that feeling of being cutting edge, you know, and I find it harder and harder. And I do I was just mentioning Skrillex, for example. Yeah. One of the reasons I'm so impressed with him, in the last 10 years, is because for the first time somebody came out with something I didn't know how to do. I was like, wow, I don't know how to program synths like that. And I was like, wow. And that's how it used to feel. Like, it used to feel like what I knew was, you know, a very specific art form. And me and a few of my buddies, we were really into doing it. I just find that is much harder and harder to achieve now. There's information everywhere, which I wouldn't want to change the world now. I mean, I love that you can go to YouTube and learn anything. But it's hard. I found it harder to be cutting edge. I'm always still chasing that dream. You know, it's like when I see an idea, and it's not like, oh, let's overdub drums and normalize every hit, or, you know, when something comes up and it feels right, no matter how much money I'm going to lose or how hard it is, I still am chasing that art, that dream of trying to do things different, cutting edge, that are going to work, and pushing the envelope, you know? Yeah. It's just hard. It's just harder and harder.
It's interesting how, like, I can see it in your face as you talk. It's like you always have this childlike, what I've always liked about you, seeing videos of you producing different bands, is this childlike wonderment of, like, it's still fun, it's still fresh.
It's so great. Like, if you could stay as happy as you are and have a really awesome, flourishing career, you're doing something. Yeah. Right. So
I mean, I'm New Jersey. I'm loud as fuck, but it's like, you know, it's like a football coach. Like, you know that guy's been in the game. You respect him. He may be yelling at you and shouting at you, but it's all, you know what's going on. It's all in good fun, and it works for, like, that sort of New Jersey loud guy thing. Works most all the time. You know, once in a while you get an artist and they don't get that. They don't get the football coach type of thing. You know. And you have to be careful. You know, to be careful with who I'm like, how I'm like around certain people. You learn that as a producer. You know, you're a bit of a politician and a bit of a therapist as well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm into it, and I can be very loud and very aggressive, and I can push people in ways that they do love me for. But it could seem to an observer that just walks in, it could seem like, whoa, very intense at times. But it's all in good fun.
I totally believe it 100%. Are you using Logic or Pro Tools? Which
I'm the Logic kid, 100%. Always have been.
Interesting. And why Logic over Pro Tools? Just it's good for everybody to know this.
I'm not super nerdy tech guy. I'm very much a great user. You saw me on any of my gear, you'd think, oh wow, he really knows what he's doing. But really, I just get really good and comfortable at the things that I like. I started on Logic very early. It was obvious then, because it was, as a remixer programmer, it was hands down the sequencer. You know, it was I was sequencing on Logic before there was audio on a computer.
When it was still Magic.
And then one day, Pro Tools came out as a way to substitute the tape machine, but didn't really have their shit together with MIDI and stuff.
Yep.
And then shortly thereafter that, all of the sequencers became audio sequencers. You had Logic being Logic Audio, Performer became Digital Performer, Cubase became Cubase Audio. So they all started incorporating, all the sequencers started incorporating audio in that sequencing environment.
Okay.
And again, Logic was just my sequencer, and it was just made sense to stay on it. It's my instrument. You know, it's such a feel thing. I'm so deep into it. I don't have to think about this. I don't have to think about it technically. I can just stick on the music. And luckily for me, it's over all these decades, it's stayed very relevant and very current. So that's lucky for me, because I wouldn't want to change unless I had a really good reason to change. You know,
Right. What about with the
big learning curve for me?
Machine Live, like the streaming with the quality and getting that record quality live sound, or through live sound, and how are you making that sound good? Are you going through OBS or?
Thank you for asking. This is like, talk about new exciting things, right?
Yeah.
This has been thrilling for me to sort of to put this together, because a lot of people think this is my answer to COVID, but I had planned this for like a year before COVID. Just the idea of taking this, look, all these big studios are all shutting down, right? It's not relevant anymore. It's like people could do stuff in their bedroom, and even cool rock producers are doing stuff in like their own studios that aren't necessarily.
I love Drummer Track in Logic for the fact that I could have a full drum kit, SSL EQs, and I get the sounds I want.
Okay.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
So I like having the big barn studio. I call it, I like it. And in a way, to justify it, I think, what can I do with that? So it's like, with bands needing content and more than just audio, and with so many video guys that would just come in and make these great video documentaries, I just thought, let's make having the space, let's make like the future multimedia studio. So I just thought, why shouldn't there be cameras ready to go set up? Why shouldn't there be video lighting? I've had so many video crews in there. And also I had URM come in and film me on a live stream. I did something called Nail the Mix.
Yeah, Nail the Mix.
Yeah.
They did so well. They came into my barn. They did it so well. They were so smooth and made me so comfortable. I said to myself, man, I wish I could do something like this for my bands. Like, what could that be? And that was when I kind of came up with the idea of Machine Shop Live. And that concluded on my thought of like, why shouldn't the future modern studio be like, have full video ability as well as audio?
Sure.
So, and that's what we have there now. It's like, you can come there and it's like, it's a bigger studio, but it prices out so cheap, because if you were to come and record and do video and even live stream, could you imagine, like, let's take some of these during COVID, what are some of the bands that are doing like sort of bigger stage live streams,
Trivium.
Exactly. And now think about it. They're like, probably had to rent out a venue. Think of what goes into that. Find a video crew that has the technology to live stream, can get the internet into this spot, get a live sound guy, and do all this remotely and getting lights. Imagine you could do that if you're a big band. What's the budget on that? I mean, I can't imagine. Minimum 15,000, 20,000.
Oh, more. I would say more.
Yeah,
it's like you could roll
because you have to have at least, because I know with the one thing with the Trivium, they did it over a course of 3 days, and so stuff that stays set up, rentals, all that other stuff.
So no, why not just have a recording studio where 2/3 of that is already worked out?
Streamline
bring in the video, and have an incredible sound stage, video streaming stage, and place to record video content as well as audio content, pro video content, pro audio content, ready to go. It costs a fraction for everybody. It seemed to just be a relevant, smart thing to do. And it's worked out good. I mean, it's worked out great. It's like, I started Machine Shop Live as a way to do many things, to market the idea and market myself and get to meet more bands and just get to have these great relationships.
Yeah, it's great.
But it's like, in turn, other bands that like Sonny Sweeney, this huge country artist, knew about it and came in and did her live stream there, saved tons of money, made a bucket load. She sold tickets, and as a boot, she was so, and it always translates. She was so blown away with how good it looked and sounded. For the price of just coming to live stream, she took all the audio and she's releasing a live record, live from the machine shop.
There you go.
And translated into more work and incredible benefit to the artist. And and the record's coming out in I think a couple of weeks. The next Sonny Sweeney record is live from the machine shop.
That's wonderful.
So it's like a win-win for everybody. It's just a really smart idea.
It is.
And a very relevant future idea. Even after COVID, it's like, you could come to a place, you record, you could just get tons of other content, which you're going to need as a band.
Absolutely.
Why not be set up for it?
You guys pre-record the performance, or do you do it like live, like right on the? So you could do either or, right?
Well, it's the bands come in and
they suck. No, I'm kidding.
No, they don't. The whole thing currently about Machine Shop Live is we're trying to get the best performance bands.
Yep, absolutely.
Greatest performance bands, and we are, it's like great. It's all great performance. That's what we aim to be. It's incredible performance live mixing. It's even the videographer is performing. He's in the center of the band around him, and the main guy holding the camera is performing the video shots.
That's bad.
And that's the whole idea of it. It's like the best performance, everything. So the bands are coming in, and we're doing a few pre-recorded takes. But then we go up, we do some live streaming interview, some interaction with fans, and then they go down and they play the songs live. And that goes out as a live stream. In truth, yes, I've comped and edited what lives on my YouTube has been a comped and edited version. And mix version isn't the live mix that went on the live stream. It is a comp tune and mix version.
Sounds like
I don't like to advertise that. I like it to seem like it was the live thing.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, it's going to feel that anyway.
For the bands. Yeah. It's for the bands. It's also because in talking to bands about this prior to COVID, like all the live streaming they would ask to do, the bands go out on tour and they hate it. They hate it because they get asked to go up to this radio station, do a live stream, do this acoustic live stream, and they don't know how to record them. They make mistakes.
Yeah.
Then the radio station owns the copy of that.
Oh,
which it's also not the case with Machine Shop Live. And then this stuff is going out on the radio or where it's playing with takes and they're not happy with. And it's just really nerve-wracking to bands. And I really want to solve that as well. I wanted them to have a place they could stop and do content while on tour and know that the day would be incredible. Like we barbecue for them. They can chill. They can sleep over if they have a day off. Recording isn't stressful. And they know that the outcome is going to be something where they're guaranteed they're going to look and sound friggin' amazing.
I think I think it's fantastic.
Again, solving it all for the bands, the whole problem with live streaming.
It's nice it's in like a place like Austin too, because it's a music city. So it's not like going somewhere like Virginia Beach, Virginia, or something,
or Delaware.
And what's really interesting is I realized this too is back in the touring days, pre-COVID. Very commonly, there was a day off. A band would do like the Eastern Seaboard or the California, the Western Seaboard, and then very commonly on a touring route, there would be a day off before the Texas dates or a day off after the Texas dates, just because of the driving. Because you would hit 2 to 3 cities in Texas, right? But you'd be coming from someplace far, like Nashville or something, or 12-hour drive, or New Mexico,
Arizona,
or someplace far, or Arizona, So that made it really help as well. It wasn't always rushing a performance the morning of a show. It was often like bands doing one long drive, having a day off, and they're here at my place on the day off, which is great. It's just another good reason to be in Texas, as far as having a band coming through on tour.
Brilliant. It really is. I was going to ask you too, like, based on optimization of your time, and I'm always, kind of, tapping into this because it's important. It's the future, is kind of modularizing your talent and kind of making digital assets and being able to, like, promote that. Like, let's just say you do the machine, it's machine live streaming machine shop. Is that what is it called exactly?
Machine Shop Live.
It's called Machine Shop Live.
So like you have that, and then you have your recording, and then if you wanted to optimize your time, you can actually, what we're doing for the podcast eventually is a subscription based kind of music combine where the resources are available, where you can work with Machine through there's videos that are pre-made, right, that solve problems for people that are trying to record their own music, that, like, guys that are just up and coming, they don't know where to start, and they get to actually see it. They get to actually subscribe to Machine and having videos, right? And like you're going to help solve the problems, and then have a one-on-one masterclass, which would be an increased subscription, and then you have a one-on-one mentorship program where that's going to be more money, but like it's added value to the end user. So have you ever thought about like kind of modularizing that? Because information sells right now. It's the biggest selling, commodity out there. And with your background and you can really leverage that and like optimize your time. So you're not having to work on every single project. You are developing these digital assets that will pay dividends.
Now I understand what you mean by digital assets. It's funny. I like this term, like what do I say? I'm like, when I become the influencer, like right now, for educational stuff, I'm working with URM, the Ultimate Recording Machine, who are very established and have a huge fan base in this market. And they're the influencer, right? So they, you're going to get you're going to get exposed to so many thousands of more. Yeah. But, for being an influencer, the ways of the influencer in 2020 is they take 50%, and I always say when the influenced becomes the influencer, it's like, I think about maybe there's a future where I'm the influencer.
That's what I'm saying.
I could host stuff, but right now, maybe Machine Shop Live is the beginning path to becoming an influencer.
Absolutely.
I'm certainly not an influencer. Joey Sturgis has been at this for a decade or more. He's collected emails upon emails. He's connected with his fans through news groups, through chat rooms, through doing videos. He's earned it one fan at a time, and he deserves it. And I'm jumping onto his boat and getting exposed to a lot more people. It takes a lot of work, especially, a true good influencer really giving good info and building a scene. It takes time. So for that, I'm working with those guys. But who knows where the future goes, right? It's like, we'll see.
Can everybody get, your time? It's hard to get your time.
I do. One side hustle I've been doing during COVID is I'm just mastering. I've been in the last many years, I've been asked to master a lot of this stuff I'm mixing. It's more and more common, especially in heavy music.
Sure.
I've gotten very good at mastering. Again, I thought through URM, I thought, well, how can I connect with these kids that are with this, And one way is that, I could offer them mastering services. So my one little twist, like you said, a one-on-one, my little niche for my mastering service, it's affordable mastering, but I offer mix consulting. It's a package, mix consulting with mastering, almost like I call it finishing services.
Great.
So for the young mixer who's not so sure about what he's hearing, there's a time for us to sit with the mixes before mastering and be able to tweak on stuff that will make the end result so much better. And it's just giving them confidence and creating relationships, being able to have a one-on-one. Some people don't do that. They just say, here, go master this real fast and cheap. That's fine. And I actually just had a mixed consulting call earlier today, which was like a one-on-one Skype thing. And we used audio movers, and I could literally get right in there and look at his screen and hear stuff in perfect quality. And
oh, wow. And
then I will then further master that. Or another thing is like, all the time. I worked with big mastering guys, and I wanted something to sound a certain way, and they would come back to me later and go, well, I couldn't really do that because you would have had to done this or that in the mix. I kind of got to break that down. It's like, even if I'm just being offered something to master, if I hear something to improve on something that I can't do in mastering, my mastering clients know it's like, I could call them and go, hey, bro, why don't you do this? Why don't you go back to the mix? It's just for calling a computer nowadays, right? Yeah. It's not like dialing back all the knobs on the SSL, right? It's like, hey, bro, why don't you just, if you do this, if you made that snare a little pokier like that, I can make this hit a lot harder here, and so on and so forth. And everyone just appreciates that
service.
That service of being able to help them get it right. I'm not mastering for big dog mixing engineers, put it that way. It's young music makers and stuff like that I can do this.
I see it myself, like just like the mastering, like I and then the mix is different, and it's like I can hear when the mastering comes back, it's like there's things that are lost, and then I have to go all the way back, and it's if it's separate. Yeah. It's like I have no shot. So to really, again, I'm going to use this word, streamlining the process and making it easier for the musicians that you're working with to be able to get what they exactly want, and you're able to convey that to them. Hey, listen, man, if you just make this a little more pokier, I'll be able to it will be up in the master. That's value that you really don't get most of the time, from my experience, and I think that's why. There's a need for it.
So I found the one-on-one to work great there.
It's a great idea.
And that's about the only experience I have with any one-on-one thing. That's it. And the other educational things I do for now, I'm going to stick with URM. Those guys have been so cool with me. We did a sample pack not too long ago called Machines Layers of Destruction, which went out really well. It's like an exclusive thing. It's like sort of mix tools, mix sound effects, like ending mix, like post, lots of explosions and dives and all sorts of cool stuff you'd want to colorize your mix with. That went over really well. And they blew it up, man. So I love working with those guys.
Amazing.
So what do you to tell the, we're going to be putting this out, like, is there anything you want to plug more of? Like, I mean, obviously this is all about what you're doing, right? So it's like, where can people find you and your tools that you all that?
Well, I think the most exciting thing I have I really do love to get the word out. It's more, Machine Shop Live is brand new.
Yep.
And it's something I'm sure I'm never going to stop doing this. I can't wait to see how it develops. So definitely you can go to the YouTube channel, YouTube/Machine Shop Live, see what we've got so far. Mm-hmm. There is a Patreon to join. That's Patreon/Machine Shop Live. It's to join and get proactive and be able to get more stuff. Mm-hmm. If you want cool videos on bands and there's the Patreon has so many cool little gifts that come with it and so many cool tiers. Other than that, I can just be found on, if you want to get to me, you can get to me through my website, which is www.machineshopprod. And you can reach out to me through there, through email, see what I'm up to. That's about it. I'm attainable. You can find me on the World Wide Webs, interwebs.
Yeah. That's
I'm approachable.
Glorious that we have you on here to be able to connect to our listenership and
let's get some cool bands in Machine Shop Live.
I got some I'm going to send to you.
They're not touring right now, but it's like, it's been hard because it was based on a concept of bands, grabbing bands touring through Texas. So now it's like who can I get locally in Texas? But now it's like, who's going to drive? Once that's tapped, like who's going to drive? They're not on tour. Who's going to drive to come do my show? It's been tricky, but the right bands will do it.
The more this
hopefully
more traveling opens up, normalcy. You're going to see people like me. I'm already considering just flying out there and doing it if it was possible. Like, I mean, I would do that.
Nice.
Like, I think a lot of people do that though.
Yeah, there's enough rental companies in Austin that you can rent backline.
We have all the backline.
Yeah, there you go.
You kidding me? I have a shipping container full of backline. Yeah. That's been another really cool thing too. It's been great. The gear companies love Machine Shop Live.
Oh yeah, because it advertises their stuff.
Oh, it's like so visual. It's been.
I think it's crazy.
Great.
We've
the
talked
endorsement help.
Yeah,
Big ups to
the
those
endorsement
companies.
stuff. I mean, has been so weird because guys will go try to be endorsed by, say, a guitar company, and they just want to buy something to become a customer. Essentially, they'll give them like a guitar half off. I would think that would be more the route they would want to go, because the imprints that they can get through visual media, which is the internet now, is so much greater.
Yeah, they can get in front of more people quicker by doing these.
That's amazing.
I think you're really onto something great here, man, and just ride the wave of it, and the momentum building, and we'll spread the word. And
we're huge fans and supporters already. So
yeah, man, I appreciate. Yeah, we got to talk to you. Mike got to talk to you really early on the idea and brainstorm. And a lot of the bands you came up with, I reached out to.
Yeah,
Sons of Texas was one of them. I think you were mentioning Fire from the Gods as well. Yeah, on that phone call.
I was like, hey, what about Fire from the Gods?
Yep. Thank you, sir. Done. In the bag. Coming out.
There we go.
Check it out. Coming out shortly to a interweb near you.
Exactly.
You, man. It's a delight and honor to be able to talk to you for an hour.
Cheers. You got it, guys. Let's do it again sometime.
Definitely. Soon.
All right.
Have a great day, Machine.
You too, guys. Take care.
See ya.
I'm so glad you're on this because you know so much about recording. It's like so good. Your knowledge of recording equipment and engineering has just helped majorly. But I think this was, oh man, I'm like starstruck right now.
I mean, to me, it's like what I love about him, and I've always gotten that vibe from him, and we said it in the interview, was, he's act of service, man. He's got this childlike wonderment. He's like I was with, many, many years ago, of like, let's just get it done. Let's have fun. Let's do it. This is amazing. You can see by the smile on his face, he enjoys life. He has a zest for it,
Yep. That's important.
Super important.
I mean, that's what's it's cool too to hear, like when I asked the question of like, when did everything change for you? It's like after this one record, it didn't stop.
Yeah.
It just kept building.
And that's how it used to be. Like, I feel like the grind and the struggle, like he said, you just don't go pitch your record anymore. They follow you, and then maybe you get.
Right. Well, it's like Sons of Texas, which it kind of ties in. Like they did everything they could for what they could do, to the point where that's all they could do. And like that eventually worked for them, so they were resourceful, and that's what you gotta be. Don't go fucking, exhaust all your resources and pay all this money to go fucking tour all over the US when you're not even using, like,
you can't even sell out the backyard.
Sell your backyard, and you're not even going around your backyard first.
But it's important to note with like Sons of Texas, and not to get off the topic of who we just interviewed.
It's relevant. It's relevant.
But the thing is that, they had Texas as a state to travel around.
Oh, by the way, you could fit 6 Pennsylvanias in Texas. So you were
said 5. I was close. So, to me, it's, when you have basically a country inside of a country to go tour, it makes it a lot different.
Right. And that gives them that much more respect, dude. Seriously. Fucking God bless for being able to do that.